In our headlines on this Monday, July 27th, here in South Korea, President Lee calls for fuel price caps and fuel tax cuts to remain in place until global oil prices find some stability amid the confrontation between the US and Iran. Meanwhile, Korean and American tech giants unveil a combined $950 billion package for AI partnership spanning chips, data centers and robotics as the Lee administration seeks to position South Korea at the center of the AI campaign. On the international front, diplomatic efforts appear to be gaining some ground in the US-Iran military conflict, with Donald Trump halting assaults and Tehran causing retaliatory attacks. We begin in Brazil, where President Lee Jae-myung is soon scheduled to sit down with his Brazilian counterpart Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva for talks on trade and tech as part of his three-day state visit there. Our top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min covers the upcoming meeting and more.
Upon arrival in Brazil for a three-day state visit, President Lee Jae-myung and First Lady Kim Hae-kyung toured Brazil's C-390 transport aircraft, soon to be introduced in Korea. The president called it the beginning of defense industry cooperation between the two countries. Presidents Lee and Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva last met at the expanded G7 summit in France and held a bilateral summit in Seoul in February. In a written interview with FA News Agency, the South Korean president said he sees ties with South America entering a new phase. He added that reliable partners are needed more than ever in times of rising protectionism and supply chain disruptions. The talks on Monday will involve an official welcoming ceremony, expanded talks, an exchange of MOUs, a joint press conference, and lunch. South Korea is looking to expand trade and investments in South America, for which they will seek resuming negotiations for the Korea-Mercosur trade agreement.
We expect to dramatically increase trade with these countries and support our companies making inroads into the South American market.
Also on the agenda is enhancing cooperation in critical minerals and creating synergy with Korea's advanced technology. Korea is also looking to expand its diplomatic horizons to the global south.
Brazil is the fifth largest country by area and the seventh largest by population. It not only leads the order in the South American region, but also provides active leadership in the UN and G20.
Following a flurry of diplomacy in recent weeks involving the EU, G7, and NATO, President Lee's trip to South America signals a fully fledged diplomacy with the region amid a complicated geopolitical environment. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News, Brasilia.
Also in Brazil this past weekend, President Lee Jae-myung held his regular weekly meeting with senior aides virtually, highlighting the importance of vigilance amid the renewed violence in the Middle East and its ripple effects on global oil prices. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports.
네, 지금 여기와 대한민국은 정확하게 12시간, 밤 12시간, 낮 12시로 바뀐 상태입니다.
Even from Brazil, President Lee Jae-myung kept up his weekly meeting with senior aides. Held virtually on Sunday evening in Brasilia, the meeting linked the president with officials in Seoul. A major focus was stepping up preparations for the economic fallout from the renewed military conflict between the United States and Iran.
중동 지역 상황이 다시 불안정해지면서 국제 유가가 출렁이고 있습니다. 유가 변동성이 당분간 이어질 가능성이 큰 만큼 국내 물가에 미칠 영향을 최소화하기 위한 선제적 노력을 빠르게 기울여야 되겠습니다.
He ordered the government to keep both its fuel price caps and fuel tax cuts in place until global oil prices stabilize. Last week, Seoul froze wholesale fuel price ceilings at their current levels, reversing an earlier plan to lower them as tensions in the Middle East escalated. Fuel tax cuts will also remain in place through September at 15% for gasoline and 25% for diesel. President Lee also instructed officials to prepare additional support measures if the situation worsens. He then went on to order a crackdown on those seeking to profit from the crisis.
기름뿐 아니라 다른 핵심 민생 품목들에 대해서도 매점 매석 담합행위 같은 사례가 발생하지 않도록 관계 당국이 시장 교란 행위 단속에 만전을 기해 주시기 바랍니다.
The president's remarks came after domestic oil refiners were found to have engaged in a price-fixing scheme worth tens of trillions of won. Trial dates are being scheduled following indictments on charges of violating the Fair Trade Act. Sunday's meeting marked the second time Lee has chaired his top aide meeting virtually while overseas. The Blue House says the format is intended to ensure there are no gaps in state affairs during the president's foreign trips. 송유진, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, prior to his arrival in Latin America, President Lee Jae-myung hosted an AI summit in San Francisco that was followed by a pledge of $950 billion in AI partnerships between South Korean and American tech giants spanning chips, data centers and robotics. Our business correspondent Park Chun-han reports.
Korea's role in global AI race is becoming irreplaceable. As the AI industry advances, securing the physical infrastructure to run AI, including semiconductors, data centers, and power grids, has become just as important as developing smart AI models. To further strengthen the AI capabilities, Korean and global tech giants have agreed to a $950 billion alliance, roughly 1.4 quadrillion won. The partnerships cover the entire AI ecosystem, from advanced memory chips to physical AI. Samsung Electronics has signed a $200 billion agreement with Broadcom to supply memory chips and cooperate on AI chip production using advanced foundry processes over the next 5 years. SK Group has secured partnerships worth $750 billion with the likes of NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Anthropic. The project includes SK Telecom's massive 2-gigawatt AI factory in Korea. Naver is also expanding its AI data center in Sejong with up to $10 billion in funding. NVIDIA is expected to invest up to $1 billion, while Brookfield is expected to contribute up to $9 billion. These massive partnerships highlight Korea's critical role as a reliable supplier in the global market.
So I think that Korea is in the golden age of technology right now, because we are the monopoly in global memory chip manufacturing, especially in HBMs, and because we also have foundry business driven by Samsung Electronics. Korea is the center of the global semiconductor supply chain, which is most importantly the basic technology for the AI era, which we live in today.
Beyond chips, Hyundai Motor Group is pushing for physical AI by partnering with NVIDIA and Waymo to advance robotics and autonomous driving. However, challenges remain. While these massive investments boost Korea's leverage in AI, the country must ensure these deals go beyond initial agreements and turn into actual execution. Furthermore, Korea, like many other countries, faces the challenge of securing its own technological sovereignty so that it does not become overly dependent on a few global mega companies. Recognizing this, companies like SK Telecom and Naver are actively building local data centers and developing frontier AI models. Park Chun-han, Arirang News.
In other news now, a second night of silence amid the absence of U.S. assaults against Iran is raising cautious hopes for diplomacy, while Israel insists on nuclear abandonment by Iran. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
President Donald Trump has paused the U.S. military strikes on Iran for a second consecutive night, saying he wants to give diplomacy more time, even as Washington insists that all military options remain on the table. Speaking on Fox News on Sunday, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Mike Waltz said the U.S. leader is giving talks some space, while stressing that the pause should not be seen as a decision against further military action. Waltz also dismissed reports that the administration is concerned about dwindling air defense missile stockpiles, saying the U.S. military has all the resources it needs to continue operations if necessary. Iran also signaled a temporary easing of tensions, with an Iranian military spokesperson saying Tehran has halted its retaliatory attacks, while the country's foreign ministry confirmed that indirect communications with the United States are continuing through mediators, including Qatar and Pakistan. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Begay said diplomatic channels remain active despite escalating tensions. However, he accused Washington of violating a previous memorandum of understanding, calling it the third diplomatic betrayal by the United States. He said Iran remains committed to defending the country unless the U.S. changes its position. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the conflict with Iran will only end when the Iranian regime either falls or is weakened enough to abandon its nuclear program. In an interview with Fox News on Sunday, Netanyahu said Iran must end its nuclear ambitions with or without a deal, arguing that recent U.S. and Israeli strikes have set Tehran's nuclear program back by several years. He also warned that a nuclear-armed Iran would pose a direct threat not only to Israel but also to the United States, adding that Israel will continue working closely with Washington to prevent that outcome. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
"73 years after the Korean War armistice, South Korea today is honoring the service and sacrifice of some 2 million UN soldiers while showing the enduring value of international solidarity. Our An Sung-jin files this report.
July 27th is the United Nations Forces Participation Day. Korea held a national ceremony on Monday honoring the sacrifices of veterans who fought in the Korean War under the banner of the United Nations. This year's theme was Enduring Friendship, a Great Beginning.
At a time like this, the spirit of international solidarity shown during the Korean War is more meaningful than ever. Korea will protect freedom and peace through its strong U.S. alliance and cooperation with UN partner nations.
The event brought together about 1,000 attendees, including Korean War veterans, family members of those who died in the war, and delegates from the 22 UN member states that supported Korea. Individuals were also recognized with government honors for their contributions to preserving the legacy of UN veterans and strengthening international alliances. The Prime Minister reaffirmed Korea's commitments to its alliances amid today's global challenges and pledged continuous support for international peace and humanitarian efforts.
While keeping the door open for dialogue, we will remain prepared against any security threat and continue working with the international community to promote global peace and prosperity.
UN Forces Participation Day commemorates the signing of the 1953 Korean War Armistice Agreement and honors the service of nearly 2 million troops from 22 countries who fought or provided support for the country. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Also, in light of this somber occasion, the Unification Ministry here is seeking to reshape the border region from a symbol of division into a driver of peace, tourism and economic development. Our Kim Do-yeon explains.
At Monday's Border Area Peace and Safety Joint Conference, falling on the anniversary of the 1953 Armistice Agreement, officials from the central government and local governments gathered to discuss how to transform the heavily fortified border region into a center of peace and prosperity. Unification Minister Chung Dong-young highlighted the need to fundamentally shift the purpose of these regions.
We must end this armistice period and transition to a period of peace for the front line to become the center. That is the meaning behind the second Border Area Peace and Safety Joint Conference being held today.
These 10 border districts stretching across Incheon City, Gyeonggi-do Province, and Gangwon-do Province were historically at the heart of the Korean Peninsula but have spent the past 73 years as isolated military front lines. Local residents have borne heavy security restrictions and economic sacrifices.
It is unprecedented in history to have the Gyeonggi-do Province Governor, Incheon City Mayor, and Gangwon-do Province Governor gathered here together. President Lee Jae-myung's directive is that the special sacrifices made in the border areas must be met with special compensation.
To fulfill this, local leaders have called for designating special economic zones for peace as inter-Korean cooperation projects to secure infrastructure funding. Under the government's master plan, 4 special zones will be designated between 2026 and 2027, with official selections set to be announced soon. Practical deregulation is also moving forward, including eased agricultural restrictions and simplified access to border zones. Central to promoting the region's peace and tourism potential is the government's official portal, dmz.go.kr, which opened on Monday. Designed as a comprehensive gateway for global audiences with full English support, the website provides detailed travel information, historical archives, and ecological research on the unique wildlife thriving in the long-term absence of human interference. Kim Do-young, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, across the border, North Korea's Kim Jong-un marked the 73rd anniversary of the Korean War armistice by reaffirming the regime's long-standing claim that it had won the war. According to the Korean Central News Agency, he visited a cemetery for fallen soldiers on Sunday and hailed their sacrifice in defense of North Korea's sovereignty against the U.S. and its allies. Kim also paid tribute at the tomb of Mao Anying, the son of former Chinese leader Mao Zedong. Kim was accompanied by his daughter Chue and wife Lee Sol-chu. And North Korea has slammed the latest ASEAN Regional Forum Chair statement that Chad calls for denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula. In a statement carried by the Korean Central News Agency on this Monday, Kim Yo-jong condemned the call as pathetic, adding that North Korea's nuclear weapons capabilities would continue. The ARF's chair's statement, released last Friday, conveyed concerns regarding North Korean nuclear and missile programs, while urging compliance with UN Security Council resolutions and a return to dialogue and denuclearization. The Unification Ministry here, for its part, has reaffirmed commitment to nuclear dismantlement on the Korean Peninsula and welcomed regional support for dialogue. Meanwhile, South Korea has scored a major conservation milestone as UNESCO approves the expansion of its World Heritage-listed Korean tidal flats, that is, by adding 4 new sites to one of the world's most important coastal ecosystems. My colleague Cho Young-eun has details.
UNESCO's World Heritage Committee has approved the significant boundary modification of Korea's Ketbar, Korean Tidal Flats, adding 4 new ones to the existing World Heritage property. With the expansion, it now comprises 6 component sites, adding to the original locations: Seocheon, Gochang, Sinan, and Bosong, Suncheon, first inscribed in 2021 for their outstanding universal value. The newly inscribed sites include Seosan in Chungcheongnam-do Province and Gohung, Muan, and Yeosu in Jeollanam-do Province.
Korea's tidal flats have once again been recognized as one of the world's greatest marine ecosystems. Stretching along the country's southwestern coast, they also serve as vital stopover habitats for migratory birds traveling between Oceania and Central Asia.
The decision underscores the global ecological importance of Korea's tidal flats within the West Sea ecosystem and the East Asian Australasian flyway, one of the world's most important migratory bird routes.
This inscription is both a great honor and the beginning of our responsibility to preserve this invaluable natural heritage for future generations.
The International Union for Conservation of Nature, or IUCN, says the boundary modification directly addresses recommendations made by the committee following the original inscription in 2021 by making the protected area stronger and better connected as a whole group. The IUCN also noted that the site benefits from a comprehensive legal framework, integrated governance, effective monitoring systems, and the active participation of local communities, describing community support as one of the site's greatest long-term strengths. The committee concluded that the expanded property fully satisfies the UNESCO Criterion 10, recognizing its exceptional biodiversity.
The nominated property would substantially increase the number of bird species and the wider marine biodiversity. The 5 nominated component parts support numerous globally threatened species and internationally important bird populations.
With the latest inscription, Korea now has 17 UNESCO World Heritage properties, including 15 cultural heritage sites and 2 natural heritage sites, further strengthening its contribution to the protection of the world's shared heritage. With the official approval of the Korean Tidal Flats expansion, Korea has strengthened its commitment to protecting the valuable coastal ecosystem. The UNESCO World Heritage Committee continues in Busan to July 29. Cho Young-eun, Arirang News, Busan.
And also in the southern port city of Busan, a pavilion showcasing Korea's cultural heritage on the margins of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee meeting there is drawing huge crowds. According to the Korean Heritage Service, over 21,000 people visited the K Heritage House this past Sunday alone. This being said, the pavilion has now welcomed more than 93,000 visitors since its opening on July 20th. It features cultural performances, hands-on activities and displays introducing Korea's UNESCO World Heritage sites, as well as the sites on the country's tentative list. And South Korea has launched the 13th edition of a contest that calls on foreigners to share their first encounters with K-culture. According to the Culture Ministry on this Monday, entries are now open under the theme My First K-Culture Story. This year's contest includes a newly added writing category, alongside categories for videos, photographs and illustrations. Applicants have until September 28th to post their work on social media using the designated hashtags and complete registration through the contest's official website. Winners will receive Korea travel vouchers worth $2,000, while the top entry will earn the Culture Ministers Award at an online ceremony on November 17th. South Korea is turning to trees in its campaign against climate change, launching new carbon-neutral forests that aim to cut emissions and help cities stay cool. Our Park Chae-ryang was out and about.
On a sweltering summer day, rows of small green boxes stand neatly arranged across an empty field in Hwaseong, Gyeonggi-do Province. Inside the boxes are 1,600 newly planted Paulownia saplings spread across a 2.4-hectare site. For now, they are no bigger than a hand, but within a year, they're expected to grow as high as 4 meters. The project is part of a public-private effort to create a carbon-neutral forest that can help absorb carbon and reduce urban heat.
We hope this place will become more than just a planted area. Over time, we expect it to grow into a forest that helps address the climate crisis and lower urban temperatures.
The project is designed as a response to the climate crisis, but it is also expected to help bring down temperatures in urban areas. This place may not look like a forest yet, but in a few years, it'll be covered in Paulownia trees, designed to absorb carbon emissions and lower the heat. Bukhansan Children's Forest in Seoul's Seongbuk-gu district is one example of how urban forests can benefit local communities. Created in 2008, the forest now provides shade for nearby residents and serves as a natural playground where children can experience nature up close.
I like Bukhansan Ecological Forest because it offers untouched nature right in the middle of Seoul. Even in this summer heat, I feel refreshed here with the cool breeze, birdsong, and the sound of cuckoos in June.
Experts say urban forests help cool cities in 2 key ways: by blocking intense summer sunlight with shade and by lowering air temperatures through transpiration as trees release water vapor from their leaves.
A study by the National Institute of Forest Science found that during summer, urban forests had only 2 days above 33 degrees Celsius, compared with 10 in nearby urban areas.
For now, the saplings in Hwaseong are still small, but as Bukhansan Children's Forest shows, the trees planted today could one day become places where people cool down, rest, and reconnect with nature. Park Chae-ryang, Arirang News.
The heat has been getting more intense with each passing day. Heat alerts are in effect across most of the country. And if you're in the Gyeongsang-do provinces, it's been especially brutal. Some spots have been pushing 40 degrees Celsius, bringing dangerously extreme heat. And after a scorching afternoon, the heat won't back off much tonight. On top of that, passing showers will pop up in spots over the next few days. The central regions and parts of Gyeongsangbuk-do province could see 5 to 60 millimeters of rain. Tropical nights will continue across most regions, with morning lows staying around 26 degrees Celsius in Seoul and Gwangju. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 33 degrees, Daegu 35 and Jeju 32 degrees. Looking ahead, the rain will stick around across the central regions tomorrow as well, so please keep an umbrella handy. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session, and today we touch upon the president's latest diplomatic agenda.